The following program is to provide entertainment and information. It is not considered to be any legal or investment advice.
Good morning, appraisers. Let's talk some real estate. You're listening to the voice of Appraisal, the #1 appraisal podcast in America that always brings you the latest news and information from the front lines of the real estate market. Anything from market conditions, appraisal regulations, cryptocurrencies, big bank news. Folks, you have a question, we have all of your answers. We are the one-stop source for all of your real estate appraisal information needs. If you want to be in the know, you have definitely tuned in to the right show. My name is Phil Crawford. I am your host. Kevin, how are you today, my friend?
I am doing great.
I'm going to tell you something right now, Kevin. I'm going to tell you something right now. It is 2022. And in the last year, you and I have had a little bit of a hiatus.
Yes.
I didn't want you to get any viruses, and I didn't want you to give me anything either. But I'm telling you something right now, Kevin. I'm telling you, I have interviewed in the last year 10 extremely intelligent and extremely attractive men and women to take your place, Kevin. Take your place as the producer of the Voice of Appraisal podcast. I could not do it, Kevin. I could not do it. I could not bring myself to have the appraisalgasms that you and I have created on this show for so many years, Kevin. I could not do it. I could not bring myself to appraisergasm, folks. You complete me, Kevin. You complete me, and it's good to have you back, my friend. How have you been?
I've been doing good, just been real busy with the radio station like everybody knows. My big question, yes, the voices from the past are back.
That's right. That's right.
I was just wondering, how have you been this
2021 was an absolute roller coaster for me. I'll give you a brief summary. Bottom line is 2021 started out terribly for me because my mother-in-law passed away. Mm-hmm. Then my wife had to have an emergency surgery, a big one. Okay, that was crazy. Summer was fun because my son played a lot of travel ball. Got to watch him pitch throughout the United States. Went down to Orlando, Florida. And guess who I had brunch with in Orlando, Florida? Joyce Potts, the one and only Joyce Potts. So that was a lot of fun. Daughter went to camp. Everything was fine. And then things were getting back to normal. And I'm just going to preface it by saying they're okay. But my children were in this massive, massive, terrible car accident in October of this year. So that happened. So I don't know if you have kids or not, but if you do and you ever get that phone call, you will age 10 years in 10 minutes after you get that phone call. So
10 minutes, 10 seconds.
10 seconds, exactly. So, yeah, because I usually sport a beard over the summertime for baseball. And it's salt and pepper, but now it's pretty much, it's just white after that phone call. And then we finished up the year in a nice vacation to Florida. So that was nice. Got to recharge the batteries, rethink some things, and recalibrate what the Voice of Appraisal podcast is going to be moving forward, because it has been out of control, Kevin. It's been just absolutely out of control ever since data point zero. Data point zero, March 5th, 2020, your bizometers have been going absolutely insane. You probably had the big meltdown. It was probably the busiest years that you've had in your entire freaking career. It's unbelievable. And we have the bizometer on the Voice of Appraisal podcast. It's been going out of control. But you know what, folks? I'm sorry. We're just going to have to discontinue the bizometer. My bizometer is not as accurate as another bizometer. There is a better bizometer out there. And you know where the better bizometer is, Kevin? It's over at Better.com. Better.com. The CEO of Better.com. When he gets on a Zoom call and he comes out, he lays off 900 people. 900 people on a Zoom call. He says, awesome. Guys, you're all fired. If you're on the Zoom call, you're gone.
Hey,
you
if
better
you're
know.
Watching me? Sorry.
Sorry. Dude, he laid off 900 people. The CEO did over at Better.com. Wow. If he lays off people, then you know you're going to slow down on your bizometer. If he starts hiring people, then you know that your bizometer is going to go up. What a piece of shit. Can you believe that guy? Can you believe him? You know what I feel sorry for? This actually really pisses me off. Is Jillian White. Now, I've never spoke to Jillian. I don't know if she knows who I am or not, but I've been following her over the last 2 years. She's been on the front lines of racial discrimination in the appraisal industry, systemic racial discriminatory issues in data services. She's been on the front line of all this, okay? So she's done a great job, and I've been following all of her progress, right? So she is part of this Better group, and it's like to sit there and have this CEO. He just didn't lay off processors and loan officers, Kevin. He laid off the equity, the inclusion groups, all of the think tank groups that they had in place. He laid off them too. What an idiot. Anyways, that being said, I'm not going to use the bizometer on the Voice of Appraisal anymore. We're just going to go to the Better bizometer, which is going to be from Better.com. So if he lays people off, you're going to be slow. If he hires people, you're going to be busy. Now, speaking of racial issues, Kevin, we've had a lot of articles that have hit nationwide news throughout the country about racism in the appraisal profession. You've seen them.
Exactly.
And they're coming out about, once every month. And I'm sorry, but where are our leaders? Where are all of the leaders out there to address these issues? I mean, I know they're having these symposiums. I know they're having these Zoom calls and these meetings and things like that. But where are all the white papers on this issue? Where are they at?
When you're asking all these questions, where are the leaders?
Yes.
You know what you hear after that?
What?
You hear the crickets.
The crickets. It's all the pale, stale, middle-aged male nationwide leadership organizations that are out there that are supposedly speaking for us, and they've done just an absolute terrible job. As a matter of fact, you and I were talking last year about someone maybe jumping into the space because we were gone. And I was thinking to myself, Kevin, if someone can just jump into the Voice of Appraisal space, if someone can just jump in here and take the reins and say, listen, this is where we're going to go moving forward on these topics.
They can't hold a candle.
I'm floored. I'm absolutely there. There's nobody that was out there to even address these issues. I have read Dr. Perry's book, Know Your Price, Valuing Black Lives and Property in America's Black Cities. I've read it twice. Mm-hmm. I read it in 2020. And then over the summertime, when my son was pitching, we had a lot of downtime. I read it again.
Right.
And I developed an analysis off of it. I'll be explaining that later on in the different shows. That's just me. That's just me on my downtime between my kids' pitching schedule. Where are these organizations?
Exactly.
Where are they? They're just pale, stale, middle-aged male, and they're doing nothing. I mean, the CEO of the Appraisal Institute makes more money than Dr. Fauci, okay? And he can't put anything out. The Appraisal Institute can't put anything out of any substance about these issues. Unbelievable. You know what it's going to take? It's going to take an appraiser in the arena. You've heard the term boots on the ground appraisers. You've heard the term field appraisers. We're not going to use those terms anymore. These are the appraisers in the arena. They're in the arena. They're out there. They're in the marketplace, and they have our absolute respect on the Voice of Appraisal podcast. These are the arena appraisers. And the arena appraisers are going to have to address the issues of racial discrimination in the appraisal industry and systemic racial discrimination in data services. We're going to have to be the ones to do it because the pale, stale, middle-aged male leadership of the nationwide organizations has failed us miserably. I've been sitting back, chomping at the bit, saying somebody do something, and they're not.
When I think of these organizations, you know what I see?
What?
I see middle-aged white men sitting around a huge table with their big cigars, puffing up smoke, just like nothing matters.
Well, it's amazing because the pale, stale, middle-aged males, that one organization will get together with another pale, stale male organization and say, well, let's get together and let's talk about this and have this meeting and this, we'll have a YouTube symposium. Hey, give me a freaking break, man. Where are the arena appraisers? That's what we need because the arena appraisers can solve a lot of the problems that we're dealing with today, especially when it comes to racial discrimination and systemic racial discriminatory practices. That's where the arena appraiser's voice needs to be heard.
Right.
So we're going to get that voice out there. We're going to deal with the situation. We're going to act like appraisers. We're going to use the appraisal process in this scenario. We're going to define the problem. We're going to develop a scope of work, and then we're going to produce a credible result. That's what we're going to do.
Exactly.
That's all you have to do in these circumstances, and we will be doing that through all of 2022. Okay, very important. Also, the pale, stale, middle-aged male leadership. Where the hell have you been when it comes to the Sex Panthers? The Sex Panthers are out there, Kevin. The Sex Panthers have been on a complete 100% attack in 2022. They're all over the place. They're just going crazy, Kevin. The Sex Panther. For those of you that are new to the show, we talk about what are known as Sex Panther valuations, okay? Sex Panther valuations. So what a Sex Panther valuation is, if you've ever watched the movie Anchorman, okay, and there's a scene where Brian Fantana goes into his closet and looks at all of his cologne, all right, and he pulls out the one in the middle, which is the Sex Panther cologne. That's the one, okay? The sex, and he says something like 10% of the time it works every time, okay? and that really is what a Sex Panther valuation is, a Sex Panther appraisal. 10% of the time, these algorithmic online services produce a credible result. 10% of the time they work. The rest of the 90%, they don't, okay? Well, what has been the biggest Sex Panther AVM out there today? What has been the biggest one? the frickin' Zestimate, okay? Yes, the Zestimate is the largest Sex Panther valuation in the world today. And what happened to the Sex Panther valuation through the Zestimate last year in 2021? It lost its ass, okay? Zillow started the iBuyers program where they were going in, they were buying up property and trying to flip it. And they were using the Zestimate as their guide. They were trusting the Sex Panther to make their decisions when it comes to buying this property. And Kevin, I mean, yes, I was floored. I saw these transactions take place throughout Cincinnati. I'm like, they're buying it for what? For what price? You know,
exactly.
but they're relying on the Sex Panther. So when the iBuyer program dissolved, I think it was in September.
Correct.
Where were all of the appraisal organizations? They should have been out there screaming from the mountaintops how terrible that the Sex Panther was. I mean, look at the Zestimate. Look at how bad this thing is. Are you actually going to trust the Zestimate when you purchase a home? Are you going to use this as your guide? Where were they? Nowhere. It was the perfect moment because we've been battling the Zestimate for years and years as real estate appraisers, and nobody said anything about it, Kevin. It was unbelievable.
Right, and keep in mind, though, too, Phil, that with the Zestimate and that,
yes,
for everybody that's new, when we first started doing the show and they first came out with it, we told everybody then how horrible it was.
How horrible it was. And also we found the justification as a profession to be critical of it in a very legal way.
Right.
Do you remember, this is very important, about 3 years ago, Kevin, do you remember we had on the show Barbara Anderson?
Yes.
Barbara Anderson is an attorney from Chicago. Now, about 3 years ago, she sued Zillow over the Zestimate. She claimed that the Zestimate was too low on her house, and therefore it was damaging her value, and she couldn't sell the house for more. She took Zillow to court claiming that they were doing appraisals, and they were doing appraisals illegally. They weren't following USPAP, all of the other things, right? So the judge disagreed with Barbara Anderson. He ruled against her, and the judge basically said, look, the Zestimate is a good starting point. It's not an appraisal. And the judge almost compared the Zestimate to a fortune teller. You know, like a 1-900 number fortune teller service is what it is, right? So that's what the judge ruled the Zestimate was. So it wasn't an appraisal. Well, here we are now. See, so even though Barbara Anderson lost that case, we as real estate appraisers can come out and say that the Zestimate is a piece of crap.
Right.
And we're allowed to do it. We don't have to worry about any antitrust issues because the judge basically stated the point that they're not a competitor of ours. The Zestimate does not compete with an appraisal report. So as an appraiser, I deliver a product, which is an appraisal. The Zestimate delivers a Sex Panther. That's how it works. So it's amazing because if you're a real estate agent and an appraiser, you have to be very careful about being critical of Zillow because Zillow is, in most markets, another broker, okay, another real estate broker. So you don't want to get into any antitrust, anti-competitive nature, right? But as appraisers, which I am, I'm not a realtor, I'm just an appraiser and an investor.
Right.
I can say whatever I want about the Zestimate because it's not competing against me. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. And why haven't these pale, stale, middle-aged male appraisal organizations, why aren't they out there just screaming from the mountaintops that the Zestimate ain't worth shit?
Exactly.
You know?
And what I was going to say, Phil, is you got to be careful what you say being appraisers.
Right.
I'm in radio.
Right.
I can tell everybody this Zestimate is nothing but bullshit.
That's it, Kevin. That's the slogan that we need to use for the Zestimate, okay? All of the pale, stale, middle-aged male organizations should be out there going, the Zestimate is bullshit. We should have, if we do another appraiser fest after this whole virus thing is over with, that's what we'll do. Instead of doing an anti-sausage thing, we'll just do it. The Zestimate is bullshit. The Zestimate is bullshit. That should be echoed throughout all of the land, from the pale and the stale and the middle-aged male leadership organizations. They should all be out there. The Zestimate is bullshit. But they don't.
No.
But they don't. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Well, Phil, have you heard anything from the Appraisal Foundation about this?
Kevin, the Appraisal Foundation takes the money. They take the money, Lebowski. Zillow, the Zillow group, they belong to the IAC, the Industry Advisory Council on the Appraisal Foundation.
Okay.
So if you go to the Industry Advisory Council on TAF, you're going to see a lot of companies there, right? Mm-hmm. Those are companies that either produce appraisal reports or are the users of appraisal reports. The only one that does not produce an appraisal, because of the Barbara Anderson case, and in my opinion doesn't use appraisals because their iBuyer program went to shit, is the Zillow Group. That's it. So Dave Bunton takes money from fortune tellers. Dave Bunton loves 1-900 Sex Panther valuation services. He loves them. Yeah, he takes their money, baby. That's what it is. That's what it is. So we need to be out there to let everyone know that the Zestimate is not an appraisal before you buy or purchase a home, before you buy or purchase a rental property, before you buy or purchase a property that you want to flip. You need to hire a real estate appraiser. You got to hire us. Licensed, certified real estate appraiser. You want to be like me. You know what I want to be in Cincinnati, Kevin? I want to be the Cincinnati Mark of the Beast. You don't buy or sell or trade in this city when it comes to real estate until you get my approval on it. That's what I want. What a missed opportunity. What an absolute missed opportunity to sit there and watch the Zillow, to watch the Zestimate, to watch the biggest Sex Panther. And it was attacking, Kevin. That Sex Panther was attacking all throughout 2021. I mean, that iBuyer program, there's something about the Zestimate. It's a little Tony Soprano. We'll go over that on another show. But they were on full attack. I mean, the iBuyer program was out there. And now the big question is, as real estate appraisers, is do you have sales in your neighborhood that were part of that iBuyer program? Did Zillow rely on the Sex Panther to buy that at that price? And is that comp sort of tainted? Do you see what I'm saying? Was that an actual market transaction where there a buyer and seller acting in their own best interest with no duress? Mm-hmm. Is that market or not when they were relying on the Sex Panther? See, that's the thing. You know, Sex Panthers, they're dangerous, and they attacked heavy, and I have no idea why our wonderful and lovely, pale, stale, middle-aged male appraisal organizations can't get together and say something. Where the hell are you guys? Now, if you're a member of the appraisers committee at the National Association of Realtors, you can't say anything because that's NAR. And Zillow is a active broker in a lot of these areas. So they really can't say anything. Their hands are tied. All of my energy and effort goes right to that Appraisal Institute and the Appraisal Foundation because they've got all the money. What the hell are you doing with it? Especially with the Appraisal Institute, you got all of these members that are very good appraisers, and they are stuck with your leadership. It's terrible. Terrible stuff. So
it's bullshit.
The Zestimate is bullshit. The Zestimate is bullshit. That needs to be out there, Kevin, all the time. The Zestimate is bullshit. I'll tell you something else, and this is very important moving forward into 2022. There is a big call right now for the appraisal profession to bring new people into it. All right? I'm going to throw some numbers out at you right now, okay? Right now, there's probably 100,000 real estate appraisers in the country a day. 100,000, okay? The appraisers in the arena, they're the appraisers out there doing the work for banks and lawyers, and they're actually out there signing appraisal reports, doing appraisals. There's probably about 10,000 full-time, okay? If you have AMC, all you need is about 3,500, 5,000 appraisers. That's nationwide coverage on a 1099 basis. If we're going to double those numbers, and I want all the pale, stale, middle-aged male organizations to listen to me on this. If we're going to double those numbers, that means that we're going to have to double our workflow. So how do you double your workflow? The best way you double your workflow as an appraiser is to diminish any Sex Panther AVN, any appraisal waiver system. Okay, you discredit that immediately, and that way you can get more and more orders into your base.
Did you notice, though, Phil, when you said the big word there?
What's that?
Appraisal waiver, how much I just
appraisal. Well, yes. Yeah, I mean, how many did Fannie and Freddie dish out this? Who knows, right? If we are going to double our numbers, 10,000 new appraisers in the arena between now and 2025, then we need a greater workflow for that workforce. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to maintain yourself on an economic level.
You know what else you need?
And that's where the leadership needs to be right now.
Real leadership.
Yes. Well, there is none. I mean,
exactly.
Kevin, we've been gone for 18 months. Has anybody
changed?
Anybody stand up? It was a vacuum. You've got it right here. Take it. If you want to be an appraisal podcast, you want to be the number one, freaking take it. It's right here.
We'll tell you.
It's right here. Take it. Do you think I want to do this shit? No, you think I want to get the hate mail and everything else? Take it. All of these organizations, if you're going to increase your numbers, then you're going to have to increase your workflow so it's economically feasible for you to stay in business. Look at the most recent article that came out about Aloft. You look at Aloft, and Aloft, one of the presidents, or I think he's the CEO, he's a certified general appraiser's kid. Mm-hmm. He's like me, okay? He's basically like me. And then there's another person that runs the company who is an IT person. They got $20 million worth of venture capital to start that firm and to expand that firm. Okay. So that's the great transition. You see the great transition between the AMC model to the more mega firm model, if you would.
Right.
And I'm loving the fact that Aloft got $20 million in VC, because that means your appraisal company and my appraisal firm and all the other appraisal firms probably are worth a little bit more money than what you thought they were worth,
exactly.
right? I mean, I'm looking at it from a BV position, right?
Right.
So that's a good thing. But remember, Aloft's model is they're going to hire staff appraisers. That's a big nut. That's a big monthly nut. That's a lot of mouths to feed, right? If Aloft, if you're listening to me, I would highly recommend you find a way to have what's called a blanket income source. So not just bank work, not just secondary market work. You're going to need attorney work. You're going to need private work. You're going to need all different kinds of income flowing in to feed all of those mouths out there. Right. Trust me, I've been running an appraisal business for 23 years. I know the economics behind it, okay? And if you want to have some kind of a blanket income source, remember, they're heavy in IT.
Right.
So if they go heavy IT, they could be thinking in the future that they may want to sell some data. Okay, that's fine. You can sell your data, but watch the data that you sell. Remember, you can't sell what is considered to be an assignment result. So if you sell an assignment result, then you're going to get yourself into problems with USPAP. But again, how is a company like Aloft, who got $20 million in venture capital, how are they going to stay in business if literally our orders decline by 50% because of sex panthers? It can't happen. It can't happen, Kevin. It's not going to happen. So we need to be out there actively pushing the fact that the AVMs, that all of this bullshit, all of this online algorithmic blah, 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 all this noise is not going to work, and you're going to need to have us, the real estate appraiser, in the field, in the arena, in the marketplace, doing their job. It's going to be for the best interest of everybody, for the best interest of the public, for the best interest of the banking system, and get rid of these stupid sex panthers, Kevin. They were on the attack big time, and now we're pushing them back, Kevin. We're pushing them back. You can't even potty train a sex panther, Kevin. You can't even control it. It gets out of control, and you make stupid decisions, and then you start using sex panthers to value and to collateralize mortgage-backed securities. Oh my gosh, if you did that, if you used a sex panther on a mortgage-backed security valuation, you want to sell that bond off to Wall Street? Holy mother. That's all I got to say, Kevin. So there you go. Folks, we got a lot of news and information to go over this year. The podcast will come out monthly, okay, unless there's going to be some breaking news I need to cover. It'll be a monthly podcast. I'm going to go over Dr. Perry's book. I'm going to give you my assessment on that. There was a recent news story out of Cincinnati where someone claimed racism in an appraisal. It was in Loveland, Kevin. It was in Loveland. Yeah. That neighborhood is about 2 miles from my house, and I grew up on the street behind it as a kid, so I know that neighborhood really well. I'm going to be discussing that news story. I've got some questions about it. And the other thing I'm going to discuss is I don't know, but I think maybe a sex panther had to do with the lower valuation on that property. Right. There's something there that just doesn't sit well with me. So I'm going to discuss that as well. And we're really going to start bringing some good solutions to a lot of the problems that are facing our industry today, because I'll tell you one thing. I've never seen such a lack of leadership and just absolute silence when it comes to everything that we've been through in the last year. It's crazy. Right. It's crazy stuff. As an appraiser who has a son who may want to become an appraiser, who has a daughter who may want to become an appraiser one day, I really have a vested interest in looking out for this profession, making sure it moves forward. And for all of you out there trying to grow your businesses, and for the new generation that's coming in, obviously with this Aloft group, this is the new generation that's trying to make a disruption in the appraisal space, you're going to need that work coming in. And that work cannot be taken by any of these sex panther AVMs. Daddy's home, Kevin. Daddy's home. He's back. He's had a few drinks. He's a little bit pissed off. He's excited. You know what that means, Kevin. You know what that means?
Passionate appraisal gasms.
Passionate appraisal gasms, Kevin. Passionate appraisal gasms all the way through 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show for this week. And as always, I would like to thank you for listening as we journey through the mysteries and complexities that are, in fact, the real estate appraisal business. I would like to thank my producer, Kevin Kenny, for being here, for his thoughtful insight and knowledge. God willing, we're going to be back here very soon, continuing to report from the front lines of the real estate market. In the meantime, you kiss your spouse, you hug your children, enjoy your day, be safe in the field. You've been listening to Phil Crawford on Voice of Appraisal. We'll talk very soon.